Gentlemen, welcome welcome to today's show. I'm just going to read this again from the forum. I want you guys to hear this again, whoever's watching the recording. One of the guys on the forum wrote this. He wanted to meet a girl. He didn't have the guts to talk to her. He has very low self-esteem, and he says, I'm not going to do it. Don't need them. Don't want them anymore. Speaking of women, I have 0% chance. There is no hope for me. When I'm at work, I want to focus 100% on my work. I don't want to risk my job for one person. I will let them come to me. Will never happen, but if it happens, somehow there might just be a little bit of hope for me. Crazy how attracting someone has become this difficult, and finding a girlfriend or wife is like a job application. So this is called victim mentality. Victim mentality. I am the victim because I don't have the guts to approach girls. I'm going to wait for them to approach me, which is totally not female nature. Females are not designed to approach men, first of all. But if you pay attention to this, paragraph, look at how many times he says I or me. Someone count for me. I'm not going to do it. Don't need them. Don't want them anymore. I have 0% chance. There is no hope for me. When I'm at work, I want to focus 100% on my work. I don't want to risk my job for one person. I will let them come to me. Will never happen, but if it happens, somehow there might be just a little bit of hope for me. Did anyone count?
I think it's 6 or maybe 7.
Yeah, in one paragraph. 7 I's or me's. So this is what the ego does. The ego is self-obsessed. It is self-obsessed, and it thinks nobody has the same problems. Nobody else exists in the universe except me. This is it's a complete lack of self-awareness, first of all, but it's a self-absorption. A self-absorption. And so that moves us on to, that's just part of how ego fucks you up. A lot of people, when they think of ego, they think of pride. And it's not necessarily pride. That's something different. Pride is like, say you are the best furniture maker in town, and you know it. Like, I'm one of the greatest living writers. That's all there is to it, right? I'm the greatest dating coach in the history of dating coaches. This is like a little bit of pride. It's not ego. Ego is when you're completely self-absorbed and unaware of your self-absorption. So I'm going to do the screen share. Let's do a little screen share, guys. Well, now it wants my password all of a sudden. See, that's why Zoom is really... Kablam! Who's in the chat here? Lol. Hey, Ajmer is here, everybody. Slow clap for... I just said Ajmer is going to show up. It's a slow clap. Ego for dummies. And my hero, if any of you guys have spent time talking to me, you know I love Eckhart Tolle, or Eckhart Tolle as they sometimes call him. I'm not sure what it is, but he wrote a book called A New Earth. A New Earth, mandatory reading for everybody. This book will blow your mind. I swear to God, if you have any intellectual capability, or if you've never read like a spiritual book, like a woo-woo book, this is the best one to start. I basically call it Ego for Dummies. So I'm going to have a lot of quotes in this. A lot of guys, like, ego is one of my favorite subjects, especially when it comes to pickup, because your approach anxiety is completely attached to your ego. Not only that, the quality of your relationships and actually your ability to have a happy and fulfilling life is also completely tied tightly to your ego and your awareness of your ego and your ability to control your ego, because your ego is like a living entity. It's like another being that exists within your psyche, within your soul. It's not you. But what your ego does is it wants you to think that you are this independent unit that exists completely separate from all the rest of humanity. But it also desperately wants to fit in with the rest of humanity, which causes all kinds of problems when you're trying to get good with women or just succeed as a public person in general. So the intro, what is the ego? Learning this stuff will not only help your game, but it's also going to help your relationships, both to others and especially yourself. This will also help with approach anxiety, excuses, and other nice guy bullshit that we all suffer from. Like she's going to think me wearing my headphones is weird. This is an example of your ego trying to ping you in society. Oh, what do people think about me? Is this thing I'm doing weird? Is approaching this girl weird? Is saying this strange? If I approach that girl at the bar, will people see me and think I'm creepy? This is all ego. If you master your ego, you will be enlightened. So think of like the monk floating, oh, completely zen in the now. That's like the end game of ego. It's also incredibly attractive to women because if you're enlightened, you don't need women. You don't even care. They're just going to be, people are going to be magnetically attracted to you. This is why the gurus, the enlightened gurus of like India and stuff, they have millions of people sitting and listening to them just because they are enlightened, apparently, or so they claim. So therefore, you're a god. We just want to get some pussy, though. What is ego? This is the ego. Look at this. How does this not sum up what the ego is? This guy with ultimate power, women literally offering their pussies to you, zero effort. Men are amazed by you, and look at the men in the crowd. They're even him. Like he just sees himself everywhere. This is the opposite of enlightenment. This is complete self-absorption and maniacal, egotistical self-absorption. Yeah. This is a quote from Eckhart Tolle. The primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. Ego is just thoughts, rampant, unfiltered monkey chatter. The ego is the false sense of self created by the mind. So if you say like, I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, I'm an atheist, I don't like chocolate, I'm a conservative, I'm a Republican, I'm a liberal, like whatever. I care about the environment. I care about Bitcoin, whatever it is that you identify with, the ego makes you think that that's you. I'm a punk rocker. When in reality, we're all just bags of flesh and bone. You know, our identity, our likes, our dislikes, and everything, that's all ego. Ego does serve a function. It gives you an identity so that you can figure out where to place yourself in society. I don't like nightclubs. Or I can't go talk to those people because then they're going to think I'm a creep, and I can't be a creep. I'm a cool guy. I'm a cool guy, right? Ego. The ego thrives on perpetuating the illusion of a separate identity, constantly seeking validation, control, and security. Good job, Billy. You're the best bartender in town. You're the best postman. Oh, you got laid. Oh, go write about it on the forums. Oh, you're a big hero. You're a player now. Like this is all ego. And ego isn't bad. It just is. It just is. Like once you become aware of your ego, you can do what I call surfing the ego. You surf the ego. You use it to your advantage. Like you can say, I'm not fucking going home until I get a girl because I'm awesome. I kick ass. Me, 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 me. Right? You can use it, but you're aware that you're using it for motivation. You're aware that you're using it. Most people, they're unconscious of their ego. They're unconscious that this voice that's driving them insane is actually a separate entity to themselves. It's not them. And this is why wars happen. This is why Israel and Palestine are bombing the fuck out of each other. This is why the world could get wrecked by a bunch of egomaniacs. It's all ego. Oh, no, it's not about that. It's about land and religion. No, it's about ego. It's all about ego. That's all war is. Right? If I say, this is my border, we only have enough water for 7 million people. So therefore, we can't take your million refugees because then our people will starve. That's a fact. It's not, maybe it's not a helpful fact. Maybe it's mean, but it's a fact, right? People attach their own meaning to things in order to feed their pain bodies. This is another concept by Eckhart Tolle that we're going to get into a bit, the pain body. Just hit one in the chat if you've ever read any Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth or The Power of Now. I'm really curious if you have or not. I'd like to know.
I did. I already told it.
Nice.
I read The Power of Now.
Yeah. And what did you think of it?
It was my first book about elimination, ego, and etc. And I really found it interesting. But then after this book, I read other books about the same subject, and I noted that all the gurus like Eckhart Tolle, even there is some wisdom. There is a lot of wisdom and a lot of truths of what they said. They repeat themselves all the time.
Yeah, totally.
And
Well, the Power of
a bit
Now
boring.
only covers two concepts. It covers being present in the moment, the now, and the pain body. But A New Earth, it goes way deeper into ego, and the ego is quite complicated. Like there's so much to it. So I highly suggest you read A New Earth. Very like as soon as possible. It's mandatory reading for all my clients, honestly. The reason I got into Eckhart Tolle was because I was introduced to a product called The Blueprint Decoded by Owen Cook from a company called RSD, Real Social Dynamics. Has anyone seen The Blueprint Decoded? It might be hard to find. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal. If you can get your hands on The Blueprint Decoded, I think it's hands down, for me, it was a game changer for my game. After I watched The Blueprint Decoded, my game really took off. But I'm teaching you a lot of the concepts that I was subjected to in that course. So I'm teaching you a lot of the concepts here in this webinar, hopefully. So The Blueprint Decoded, I'll put it in the chat. And if someone can find it, it would be great if you shared it in the paid group somewhere, if you find it later. So let's get back to this. Oh yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about this with some of you guys before we move on. This class might be a little bit longer. Discuss relevancy. So let's talk about this quote. The primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. Who's ever gone out to like do some approaches wherever, a bar, a party or something, and you didn't do anything, and then you felt shitty? Yeah, you didn't do it, and then you go home feeling shitty. Then maybe you fire up a movie or you start watching a YouTube video or playing a video game, you don't feel shitty anymore. Why is that? Ajmer, tell me why you don't feel shitty once you start watching a movie or playing a video game. Oh yeah, you probably...
It's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier. And
It's
it
easier.
doesn't take any effort and it's a waste of time. So we just chill around.
Well, I think you're talking about effects. I'm
Yeah.
looking more at cause. If you look specifically at this quote, the primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. So what happens when you play a video game? Anyone else? Anyone else got an answer? Why can't you feel unhappy when you're watching a great movie or playing a video game? Like you can, but...
Because we have positive thoughts about it.
That's true, but what it is really is that you're not thinking about that unhappy situation anymore. Your thoughts are focused on something else. And actually, when you're playing a video game, you don't really think all that much, unless it's like a story-based game or something, but you're just kind of focused on the action. You become absorbed. This is how people get brainwashed. This is how advertisers program your subconscious mind to buy Coca-Cola over Pepsi. Ooh, Coca-Cola tastes better. Does it? No, it's advertising. So all of your attention is focused on one thing. So if I say like, Ajmer, see that 3 set of girls, go direct right now. Go. Most likely your adrenaline's going to kick in and you might start thinking, and it might cause, unless you're really, really in the zone. The answer is always to not think and just move, because the ego is going to be like, blah, 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 blah. Now, if I challenged you to do like 4 hours of cold approach, this can be super exhausting on you, on your willpower, on your adrenaline glands. Now, if I said, now sit down and watch Freddy Krueger movie or something, you don't have to think about any of that anymore. It's super easy because your thoughts are focused on something else. So it's your thoughts about it. You stop feeling that pain. Say you're angry at somebody, you're pissed off at your boss or your coworker or that bitch that won't text you back. You distract yourself. You can just as easily not think about the negative stuff at all. Just don't think about it. Don't allow those thoughts to manifest and sit and brew while you try to solve it, and then you're going to be happy. It's really important to feel happy, because success doesn't come when you're happy. Success follows happiness. So if you're happy in life, you're going to be more productive, you're going to be more attractive, and then you're going to start succeeding. So it's important to understand this. It's the false sense of self. So you're not your things. Fight Club, you're not your things. You're not your job. That's what he's talking about. So many people identify with these things, and it doesn't help them to get girls, not at all. Because if a girl's rejecting you and you're, oh, I'm too ugly. Oh, I'm, like this. I'm like that. I'm brown, whatever. I'm too short. This is all bullshit. It's like, but it's true. Not necessarily, because there's always a solution. So it's an illusion. The ego is always on the lookout for something to identify with in order to strengthen its illusory sense of self. That's why people join cults. They join religions. Well, it's not the only reason, right? People want a philosophy or something, but really people just want to kind of fit in. And it's one of the reasons why we don't want a cold approach, because if we fuck up, we're going to lose our identity as like a cool, nice guy. We're now that creepy guy. We're now that annoying guy. So it wants you to fit in, and this is, fuck, man, look at the whole pandemic. Wear this piece of paper on your face. It really works at stopping microbacteria from entering your bloodstream. Like, no, it doesn't. We had all the evidence that it doesn't stop transmission, but yet if you brought that up, the mob would come after you online. If you said that online, it happened to me. I had my YouTube videos like demonetized just for speaking about stuff like this. It's the hive mind, the ego, the mass ego. So, do you have a question, Ashwin? Your hand is up. Yeah, you do. You change your focus, right? If your focus is creating anxiety, you change your focus, clear your mind, and then you go again. You get present. Like, I was asking a student to approach a group of people who were just standing around looking at something. And I said, go ask them what they're looking at. Oh, I can't, because this person's talking. That's going to look weird. Like, I already know what it is. This is just trying to fit into the community. And that's might be considered weird. That's ego. So imagine you're at a social event and your ego is constantly scanning the room, assessing others' reactions and comparing yourself with them. It seeks validation and approval from external sources to reaffirm its identity and worth. It constantly pings the environment to realize its place and function within society. The first time I ever went out to a club alone in Montreal, back when I was 27, I went to the club and I had my cell phone. I had my cell phone out because I thought everyone was looking at me. Everyone was like, who's that weird guy at the bar by himself? So I thought, I can't be here by myself, just standing here having anxiety attacks because I'm too scared to talk to anybody. I didn't want to look weird, right? So I took out my phone and I was like, oh, Billy, you're so funny. Like, oh, I'm popular. I'm just standing here on the phone. It's like a soother. You'll see at parties and bars, everyone's got their phones out and they're texting. It's not, you're at a party. Why are you texting? It's because people don't want to be seen as being alone and isolated. They want to look like I'm part of a community. Look, I have friends. That's what it is. It's the ego. It's an uncomfortable situation to be alone amongst all those people because you're not in that scene yet. That's the ego. Guys that get pussy, they don't think like that. They don't care because they're leaders. They have their own reality and they're the leaders of their society. So when other people are not fitting in with you and you're not even judging them, you're just like, oh, I don't care. I'm going to walk up to you and say whatever I want. I'm going to flirt with that girl. I don't care who sees it because I'm not pinging everybody. What are they going to think about me? You don't care. It's literally like the most attractive trait a man can have, or a woman, just to be present, not to give a fuck. That's the subtle art of not giving a fuck. That's the whole point of Mark Manson's book that sold 1 billion copies, though I feel like he explained it poorly in that book. Any questions at this point or comments?
You talked about the book Models from Mark Manson. That's it, isn't it?
The subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Okay, but that's the same author.
Yeah, same author. That's
Okay.
his mainstream book. But yeah, Models also talks a little bit about it. Models is okay. Models is like in my opinion, not a good pickup book, but it's good for nice guys to confirm that they can still be nice guys and get girls. Because a lot of guys are like, I don't want to be creepy or weird or stand out. Like one guy in the group, he said, can you teach me how to stealthily pick up girls, stealthy, so that nobody sees me? And I said, that defeats the entire purpose of all of this. If you want to pick up women in a nightclub, you got to be the loudest, biggest guy there, even in day game. Guys who are good, you want everyone to hear you. This is why I have guys doing penis push-ups, high-fiving everybody, making chicken noises, doing all kinds of funny stuff in public. Because when their brain sees nothing bad happens to them, they start to care less about pinging people egoically for their place in society. Actually, you become a leader and people start looking to you as an authority. The more you stand out, the more people who do this become famous. Martin Luther King, was he trying to fit in? No. That's what it's all about. And then chicks, the more that women see you have influence this way, the more they want your penis inside them.
Just a question. I'm currently reading Models of Mark Manson, and what differs from what you teach from what he talks about in his book. I don't know if my question was really good English, but
like about this topic, what does he say in the book?
no, you said that the book Models taught no teach no sorry tells about how to seduce like a nice guy.
Yeah.
So and so it's different from what you teach in general. So what is different? What is different between those two schools, if I can say?
Yeah. So if you look at something like Mystery Method, for example, Mystery Method is like, here's like a 7-step system to pick up girls, get them home, and bang them. Like Models is like, here's how to feel like you're not creepy while you do this. The whole book is basically reinforcing that it's normal, it's okay. You shouldn't see women as sexual objects, and we know you're a nice guy, and here's permission to do this. Here's a nice guy way to approach girls, which is fine. That's what a lot of guys want. But there's a lot of methods, like my day game book, for example. I'm just like, here's 3 steps you need to do. Touch the girl, stay in the interaction for 2 minutes, and always be closing. Like, here's what you say to get a phone number. Here's why you need to touch the girl. Here's like how you approach 1 girl. Here's how you approach 2 girls. Here's how you approach 3 girls and 1 guy. Like, it's very specific. Here's the mindset. It's a pickup guide, whereas Mark Manson's book it's for mainstream consumption. It's not like an underground, like, here's like badass seduction techniques kind of book. It's more for nice guys to go, oh, it's not creepy to approach girls. Okay, thank you, Mark Manson, for giving me permission to try. That's my opinion about it. I don't think it's a very great book, honestly. He used to have
Okay.
a blog called Practical Pickup, and it was amazing. It was great. But then he went too popular. And if you're too popular, you can't say a lot of things because you'll get too much flack from, you won't go become mainstream. Mainstream is about fitting in. Mainstream is really about the ego lying so that people like you. That's what a lot of mainstream is. That's why hipsters like shit that's like really cool. It's like the coolest bands coming up are the ones who don't try to sound exactly like the most popular bands. They try to do their own shit. And there they become leaders, right? Uh, if you want to be really popular, you can do what everybody else is doing, but you're just going to be another one of the crowd. And that's sort of, I don't think his book really teaches a lot other than it inspires guys a little bit. Like, so go talk to 10 girls. Sure. I like Mark, I know Mark, but it's not an impressive book to me. Neither is his other book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. So your ego is a critic. So anything that you resent and strongly react to is also in you. Dude, when I get annoyed with guys because they have approach anxiety, it's because I know what it's like to have approach anxiety. It's like, yeah, I'll just say like this is like a lot of guys, they think they're big shit and they're acting like tough and stuff. It's because they're scared. The ego's critical voice is fueled by judgments, grievances, and resentments. Very, very cynical people, they don't have a good grasp on their ego. They're not cool, right? They're just not cool because you can be cynical and judgmental and be funny. A lot of comedians are this way. They just make fun of everything, and it's funny because they're saying things that other people don't want to say. You can do that in a way that's not egoic. You can speak the truth about what you feel, and it can actually come across as really funny and not egoical. It constantly evaluates and criticizes both ourselves and others, feeding into a cycle of negativity and separation. This is like the entire red pill movement. Women are hypergamous. Yeah, so what? Right? Women are sluts and they just want like money. Yeah, so what's the problem? Like, sure, there's a lot of stuff wrong with women, but when we focus on that, or even focusing on beta males, like you can point out what a beta male does and be like, that guy's a beta male. He's putting the pussy on the pedestal and stuff. And it's like, yeah, but you do that too. You just don't want to, you haven't realized that you still do that. You're still that person. It's okay to look at that, but you do it without judgment. You do it without judgment. How dare she? How dare he? That's like the entire reason war happens. How dare they? I'm going to bomb them because they bombed me because I bombed them. Bullshit. Oh, look at this. It's a storyteller. This is like really, really critical when it comes to approach anxiety and your relationships. My little sister, my little sister was on the phone once texting her friend and she was all upset. And she goes, look, like Cindy said, why don't you get down here? Like, why don't you get down? I said, no, Jody. She said, why don't you get down here? Big difference, right? So the ego creates the story. I don't want to approach her. She looks like a bitch. Look at her. I could tell. I hear guys say this all the time. I could tell she was judging me, or I could tell she was annoyed. How could you tell? Do you have psychic powers? It's not your job to worry what everyone else thinks. And the thing with nice guys have such high empathy. They're like, I don't want to upset anybody. The opposite of high empathy is sociopathy or psychopathy. You don't want to be a psychopath. Like American Psycho is a movie that makes fun of people with no empathy. Like he's an egomaniac. He's also an egomaniac. He's like, one guy pulls out a business card. He's like, I saw the egg white color of that business card. And then he gets all insecure about his business card. It's the ultimate movie about ego. If you mix high ego with complete lack of empathy. Most of you guys have super high empathy and also super like unconscious ego. So it's the opposite. So instead of going around and fucking all the girls and becoming top guy at work, you're the opposite. You're like the last guy at work, making the least money, getting the least pussy because you care the most. But that's what we're working on. That's why we're But you look at people who succeed at like conquering nations, they're guys like Hitler, for example, or Donald Trump. You know, people admire them because they seem like they don't give a fuck. And I got nothing against Hitler or Donald Trump. I'm just saying that because those are common people that polarize. They polarize a lot of people. Ashmir, you got to go. Okay, bro. Yeah, it'll be up there, the recording. Thanks for showing up. Let's keep going here. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. There's a great movie called Being John Malkovich. And there's a scene like some people they get inside John Malkovich's head. He's a famous actor. It's hilarious, but the whole movie is about the ego. And he's got this one dream where everyone in his dream looks like him, has the same face as him, and they're just going Malkovich, 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 Malkovich. So many PUA guys are like just like this. They're like, look, I fucked 10,000 girls. Oh, now next week it's 12,000 girls. And then they go and they just make fun of every other coach. This is why I know they're bad coaches, because they have no concept of ego. And this is why I know they're not going to be able to maintain healthy relationships, and they're not going to get high quality girls. The voice in the head has a life of its own. Most people are at the mercy of that voice. They are possessed by thought of the mind. Eckhart Tolle. Think about that. The voice in your head has a mind of its own. Every time you want to go approach a girl and your brain starts talking you out of it, I can't go in that store because she's shopping. I don't want to interrupt her. Those people will see me. They're going to think that's weird. Isn't it weird if I do that? Isn't it weird if I do? That's all the ego, the voice in your head. Possessed by thought, possessed by your mind. The ego thrives on storytelling, constantly narrating a stream of thoughts, memories, and projections about the past and the future. It's never right now in the present moment. Like if you take a deep breath and you just look around you, what does the wall look like? Are there leaves falling down? Like I see leaves on the tree. They're beautiful. This is the present moment. You can't be in your head if you're in the present moment. You're not thinking, what am I going to say? What if she thinks I'm weird? What if those people judge me? Oh, back then that I approached a girl like her and she was a bitch. That's what the ego does. It's constantly like trying to solve all this shit for you. Constant stream of thoughts, memories, projections. These stories shape our perceptions of reality and reinforce the illusion of a separate self. Guys with body dysmorphia, they think they're ugly or they think they're too short. I get a lot of these guys, they're obsessed with the shape of their face. Like a girl, I have anxiety. It's all ego. I have anxiety. It's the fear of death. That's another subject that I want to dive deep into later. You're only as ugly as you think you are. You know, you could take a guy with like the ugliest face. Maybe he had a stroke and half of his face is falling off. People sure are going to look at you and react in a little bit of, I know a guy in my town, he has a stroke face. And when I see him, I get a little like, oh, I feel sorry for that guy. He doesn't react to my fear or my reaction. And then my reaction goes away because I notice he doesn't care. All people want to know is that you don't care what they feel about you. Get that? When you're Zen, you could have like horns growing out of your head, but you don't care. You could be a burn victim, but you don't care. Women will want to fuck you just because of that presence. Once they get over their shock at your appearance. Men don't get that about game. They really don't. It's like a director creating works of fiction, but the viewers, you don't know you're watching a movie that you wrote yourself. She's a bitch. She's not texting me back because she's a bitch. Like it might not be those exact words. And I know, dude, because I've been there. I've done that. When I say you, it's because I've been there. I still do this stuff. Like sometimes I go and I promote this group. And guys, I talk to all these guys in DMs and I get them on phone calls and they're like, yeah, I think I'll take coaching, later on. And I know they have money. They have hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they don't want to take coaching. I start to get annoyed and I get like, how dare they? Don't they know I'm a master of like, oh, that's the ego creeping up. It's okay. Let it go. They'll come if they come. You can be persuasive, but not egoic. Yeah. Persuasive, but not necessarily egoic. So the ego, it really wants to survive. This is its main thing. This is why it's scared of you. It doesn't want you to approach women because it doesn't want you to die. The ego doesn't know that your only opportunity for peace is now. Think about that. When you have approach anxiety, your ego says if you walk away, you're going to feel peace because you won't be confronted with that. But guess what? You're going to be tortured all day. Whereas if you just dealt with the fear in the present moment and said, I'm having an anxiety attack, and you move your legs anyway, even though your heart's pounding and all this stuff's going on in your head, you just go anyway. You put yourself in this situation. You're going to learn. You're going to dispel all of that bullshit, all that ego, because the ego is trying to create all these stories why you shouldn't do that, why you shouldn't get on stage and become a comedian. Like, my little brother wants to be a rock star, but he won't play live. And he won't share his albums and his songs with the public because he's not ready yet. He's 28 years old. He's been rapping since he was 14. He's a genius, man. His music, he could be famous, my little brother. He's fucking awesome, man. And I'm not just saying that because he's my brother, but he's too much of an egomaniac to put himself on stage to be judged by people. He wants to stay cool. It's the opposite of cool. The cool guy is the one who makes a fool of himself, who does push-ups in the middle of a courtyard yelling penis. That guy is way cooler because the other people who are too cool to do that, they're fucking lame. They're lame. They're too self-concerned, self-absorbed about their image, trying to look cool. It's the opposite of cool. The rock star on stage is cool because he's giving the appearance of not giving a fuck, showing what he's got, being vulnerable. Approaching a girl, even though you're having a panic attack, or approaching a group of people, is the coolest thing you can do. When faced with the ego's primary concern is self-preservation, driven by a fear of loss, annihilation. The ego doesn't want to die. Perceives threats to its identity, status, or sense of control as existential dangers, triggering instinctual survival mechanisms, fight or flight. Think about your approach anxiety. You see that girl at the bar, maybe two girls, and you're like, oh, I'd like to go. Oh, they look hot, right? You know they look hot. You know you want to go over there. You want it. You desire it. But you start looking around. Who's going to see me? What if I bother them? This is actually a loss of control, because if you don't approach them, you have total control of your identity. You're still Chris or Michael. You're still cool, right? But that's why you get the fear and the anxieties, because if you're a caveman and you left your tribe to go to another tribe, they might kill you. And your lizard brain still doesn't know the difference. So your ego's like, don't do it, man. You can do it tomorrow. Like, you're already cool, man. You got laid. You had that one girlfriend that you met in high school. Dude, the chicks will approach you. If they knew how cool you were, they would approach you. That's like ego. When faced with perceived threats to your self-image or social status, your ego activates fight or flight responses to protect itself. It may resort to defensive behaviors or avoidance strategies to preserve its identity and avoid rejection or humiliation. Sound familiar? Right? Do you guys have anything to add at this point? Does this ring true to you, or are you confused about how this can help? Are you sleeping?
It's clear for me.
It's good to understand, like, we can go way deeper on ego, but just for getting girls and dealing with AA and stuff, it's good to understand why you feel this way. Because then when it happens again, you're not like, why am I so fucked up? It's not that you're fucked up. It's that you're just not really aware of how your ego works. You're not trained in that. And so you're not able to deal with it, like intellectually. Like intellectually, you're just not aware that it's happening. But when you become present and self-aware, you're like, the little voice, and you're like, oh, there's the ego trying to protect me again. It doesn't want me to get laid. It doesn't want me to succeed. It doesn't want me to become a leader. And so you learn how to like shut up that voice and do the thing you need to do. Like if I took you to the Ukraine and put you in a trench and I said, okay, I want you to charge across that minefield and attack that tank, holy shit, you wouldn't want to do it, right? But I'd be like, do it or I'll kill you. Your ego can protest, but it wants to live, so it's going to do it. When I say go talk to those 3 hot girls, oh, I don't want to talk to groups. Why? What's the difference? But because I'm not comfortable with it. It's me, my identity, my belief system, my comfort level, right? If I put a gun to your head and I said, dude, or you're going to fucking die right now. Okay. That's what it takes sometimes. But you have to show your ego that you're the boss. It's not the boss. You shut the voice up and you do that thing anyway, because that's what you want. You want to get the hot girls, right? And the hot girls see that and they think it's amazing. It's like a superpower. It desires to fit in safely into a herd. Whenever you feel superior or inferior to anyone, that's the ego in you. Oh, dude, have you guys ever like told anybody about pickup stuff? And you're like, dude, I'm cool, I'm good. That's not me. That's not me. That's lame. You know, and they'll like start lecturing you on how it's so lame or weird or creepy. But yet they're fucking virgins, you know, like they're not succeeding in life. Like, oh, I can get a girl if I wanted to. That's the ego, right? That's why I don't tell very many people. Like, so I've seen people get visibly angry when I tell them I teach dating. Oh, what are you doing? You doing some tricks? You know, like, because they don't. Well, one, they don't understand because they haven't seen it and they don't really understand what it is and why it would. They have their own story that they're creating about what a pickup artist might be. It's a creepy guy. It's a cheesy guy. You know, so, like it's a story they're creating. A guy who understands his ego wouldn't judge a person for saying something like that. It's like say a flat earther. So maybe you're not, okay, I assume you're not a flat earther. But if someone comes to me and says, you know what, I think the earth is flat, I'm like, oh, you're an idiot. Because I really don't know. Dude, I only know what the media has told me, and the media lies so much, man. I'm not saying I'm a flat earther, but I'm going to be like, really, without emotional attachment or judgment, tell me what you believe. And we'll logically go through it. This is Stoicism. This is what the Greeks taught. You know, how to be a warrior. How to be an intellectual warrior. You don't start judging before you have all of the other person's point of view. Then you dissect it logically. So when guys are like, I can't do that because this, you don't know me and the way I feel. And I'm like, logically, I'm not going to get emotional and mad at the guy. I'm going to let him get his emotions out and try to sort it out. And when he realizes he can't sort it out, then we go back to logic and say, what's really stopping you, right? It's adrenaline. It's the voice in your head. Because logically, you just have to move your legs. But emotionally and egoically, it's really difficult because you haven't sorted out how to deal with that yet. If you would just approach the women, you would start getting pussy really quick. I mean, this is a true fact. Your ego craves acceptance and belonging, prompting you to conform to societal norms and expectations. It may compel you to adopt certain behaviors or identities to gain approval from others, especially if it means sacrificing your authenticity. This can lead to mass delusion. Think the Nazis or cancel culture or the last 3 years. The last 3 years, people told me, lock yourself up in your house, take this experimental injection, and shut the fuck up with your opinions. You know what I did? I said, fuck you. I bought a one-way ticket to Mexico. I'm not vaccinated. I never wore paper shit on my face. I got the flu a bunch of times and I'm fine because I logically looked at the situation and I said, I'm young, I'm healthy. This isn't going to affect me and I'm not going to make anybody sick and the vaccine doesn't prevent spreads and stuff. And people, when I said that to them, get angry. Oh, you don't know the truth. You don't have the data. You don't know the science. I'm like, this person is egoically insane. That's what the pandemic was. It was mass delusion. It was a mass egoical fear response to an existential threat. That was then those people were all preyed upon by corporations who made trillions of dollars in profit. Cancel culture is the same thing. People were like, that's offensive. They're not thinking their own thoughts. It's just out of control ego, and people in power in the media, in social media, that they have no concept of ego and they're egomaniacs. They're insane. And that's why they get offended and they come after, they cancel you. Like some people do need to be canceled if they're really sick and spreading hate, real hate. Like saying that something logical, that's not hateful. But that's what it is. It's the ego. It wants to fit into a herd. People would rather fit in than stand out and be attacked by the herd. That's why you don't want to approach girls when people can see you. That's why you don't want to approach more than one person, because people will see you. You want to be like Batman, swoop in like I'm Batman, grab the girl and get away before anyone knows that you're horny. The guy who's good with girls, you just walk up, you're like, I'm horny. Everyone's going to laugh, ha ha ha, like whatever. If you're not hiding anything, you don't have to be ashamed of it. Your ego desires control and dominance. The ego's need for a stronger, I always forget, I like to italic all of Eckhart Tolle's quotes. These are all Eckhart Tolle quotes, by the way. The guy's brilliant. The ego's need for a stronger, more secure identity makes it into a collective form. You can then easily see your identity in a group and others can see it in you. Again, that's herd mentality, groupthink, social conditioning. That's what the Blueprint Decoded is all about, social conditioning. And this is another reason why guys go to the bar and then they stand in the corner all night clutching their drink. You go like, hey, Chris, go talk to her. Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good. They would love to go meet those girls, but they don't want to get rejected. It's the ego. If you have dominance over your ego, you're just going to move over there and say what you want because you don't care if you get rejected. You literally don't care because you place no importance on other people's judgments of you because you're not pinging everyone for approval. This is what makes a dude cool. This is why movie stars, the best actors, the best rock stars, the best painters, the best writers, they're free. They say what they want and it comes across as beautiful artwork. A dancer is free, right? Like when I dance, I'm self-conscious. I've tried for years to become a good dancer and I'm okay. But the best dancers, they don't care about the people watching them. They actually love it because they're teaching everybody something. The woman, when she dances, this is her chance to be free. Her ego is let go, and now she's showing her mastery. When you get good at approaching people, you have a feeling of mastery. And what I'm doing when I approach people is I'm teaching everyone how to be socially free. That's why the women, they're like, wow, that's amazing. And they become attracted to you and people want to follow you because you're free. You're not consumed by your ego. So it wants to maintain its identity. It wants to exert control over the external circumstances so it can protect itself from threats. Right? This desire for control, it manifests in situations where it feels challenged, arguments, conflicts. And that's how the pain body spreads. Like if I'm like, fuck you, oh yeah, well, fuck you. Road rage, prime example. Who wins in road rage? Nobody. He cut me off. So you get out and you see these videos of people pulling out their crowbar, bashing up someone's car, beating someone up. Guess what? Now they owe $20,000 in legal fees. Now they're in prison. Some people deserve to get their ass kicked. Okay, but most fights, it's ego shit. I've taught pickup in bars for years and years and years. Guess how many fights I've been in? 0. Some guys have tried to pick fights with me, but I don't pain body back at them. Yeah, well, fuck you. Like, I've lost my temper before and I've been in fights and arguments, especially you get online. When someone says something in comments and you're like, I'll show them. I'm right. Me, and then you start arguing. Does it ever work out? Like you state your political opinion and then people will want to fight with you. And like, I understand that some people want to create change. They want to create a better world. But most of the time it's stuff you can't control anyway. Right? But it wants power. It wants control. And this is why you don't want to approach the girl where people can see you or hear you, because then you lose control of your cool guy identity. The guy who's not a creep, who's a nice guy. I'm a nice guy. I'm not like those creepy guys. The creepy guys who get tons of pussy and women love them, who get rich, who get promoted at work. And it feeds on your pain body. The pain body is a reservoir of past emotional pain and trauma within us. When triggered by current events, anything that happens to you in the moment, it awakens and causes intense negative emotions like anger or sadness. You'll see it in a lot of day game. Like a guy will go approach a girl and she'll reject him. He'll come back and be like, yeah, well, she was a bitch. She was fat. Like that's the pain body. If you watch Infield from TV shows, I used to watch this show called Keys to the VIP. You can still find it on YouTube. Keys to the VIP. And it was a game show where guys tried to pick up girls, and guys would approach girls and they would turn around and put their hand in their face. Get away from me. Yeah, well, what? You don't like black guys? Like you don't like, and actually it's just the ego reacting in this pain body response, and it doesn't help at all. It just makes everything worse. Now she really knows why she rejected you. It's like when you're fighting with your girlfriend about dumb shit. And the thing is once you learn all this, you see it in other people all the time. And the trick is not to play the pain body's game. You know, it's like a ghost from the past that haunts our present, making us feel and act in ways we might not understand. Guys all the time will be like, you don't understand my childhood and what I went through. And I'm like, okay, it's good to look at that and understand it, but then let's like let go of that baggage and become present. Can you become present? Can you let go of all that trauma, all that bullshit, and stop even acknowledging it as trauma? Whatever, to the best of your ability, and become present. Because if you're present, you're free, you're happy, you're attractive, you can talk to anybody, you can do anything. It's like a superpower. Yeah. Justin says, same. I've had guys try to pick fights with me, usually after I have their girl, laughing, not knowing she had a boyfriend. And watch, like, what's your response, Justin, too, when that's happening? Are you like, they're having an ego response, or are you like, heh, 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 I got the girl because I got the game, bro. I got game.
No,
They don't have game.
no, I just like when you were saying that, that kind of just brought me to like a specific example when I was talking to this one girl and she was laughing, and then the guy came up to me like all aggressive, like, "Yo, you good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." He goes, "Okay, then, walk away." I'm like, all right, and I just wound up walking away. It's like, whatever. Approach the next one.
Yeah, that's the way it should be, right? It's not worth it. And have you ever been rejected by a chick? She's like, I don't give my number to strangers, or like, you're not my type. You're like, okay, cool. And you know, you go around the bar and you keep talking, and then like a half hour later, she comes over and gives you her number.
Yeah, I haven't had that happen yet, but I know I've had like instances of just like getting into a momentum state. Like after that, it's like, okay, whatever, and then like eventually getting numbers and leading later in the night.
What about in like long game? So say a social circle girl or a girl from work, you know, you ask her out and she rejects you, and then like later on she changes her mind.
Hmm.
For me, that's happened to me quite a few times where I didn't get upset by the rejection, and then I kept running into them again and again, and then the girl goes, actually, you know what? Like now I would like to hang out with you. I've changed my mind.
Hmm.
Because I didn't get upset. And I tell guys this all the time. Just because she rejected you, don't get all emotional about it. Like in day game, you get, I have a boyfriend, you know, and guys, oh, they get all bummed out. And I'm like, dude, you're gonna run into that girl again one day, and she won't remember. She'll remember she knows you. And every time she sees you, and she's gonna feel like she knows you a bit more, because all women want to feel is that they know you and they trust you. Because you can take one girl and you approach her cold approach, she'll be like, I'm not interested, sorry, right? Even after talking for a few minutes. But then a friend walks over that she knows, this has happened to me. Oh, Tony. Oh, you know Tony. Tony's so cool. Tony's so nice. Boom. Now the next 2 days later, you're banging that initial girl you approached.
Yeah.
All she need, it used to make me angry because I thought this is such dumb psychology. Why are women so fucking stupid? I used to think this way. Like all I have to do is show them that I know their friend and therefore I'm cool. Or all I have to do is if one girl rejects me, now I just have to get on stage with a keyboard and be like, I'm a DJ, and now she likes me.
Hmm.
It's because the female brain just wants to know that other people. Who's calling me? That's a friend. Yeah, they just want to know that you're safe, that other people know you, because that's really important to women, that you have a social circle, that you're not just some loner. Like,
Yeah.
that's why cold approach is so powerful, because they go, wow, if he can do that, he must have a lot of friends. He must be really popular.
Yeah.
That's why cold approach guys don't get that. Like, oh, I'm gonna be creepy. It's like, no, you're sending all the signals that you're not. Hang on one sec. Hey, buddy.
Yo.
Hey, I'm in a live stream right now with a bunch of dudes.
Sorry, bro.
Can I call you back in like 10 minutes?
Yeah, of course, man.
Okay.
No worries.
Bye.
All right, cool.
So I'm just gonna like finish. That's Markety Mark. He's the coolest. So what you want to do, solutions, right? Read Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, first of all, and then there's other guys you can watch, like Alan Watts on YouTube. Start going through every day, Alan Watts, the best. Bring awareness always to the present moment. Whenever you're like, and you're feeling emotional, stop and just be like, oh, is this my ego making me all emotional again? Like, let's get present. Observe your thoughts and emotions without attachment or judgment. Like when you're like, oh, I feel like, oh, then just go, oh, I'm feeling that right now. Actually, these emotions are happening in my body, whether it's anger or fear, jealousy, rage, even happiness. It's just become aware of them. That's all. Notice your thoughts and ask, are these necessary or even helpful? Most of the time, they're not. Fill your head with awesome shit. Like try to stay away from stuff that makes you cynical or depressed or angry. Approach more girls. Obviously, the more you approach girls, the more you're going to become enlightened with girls, especially if you have this stuff in your mind as well. Meditate, dude, super important. And talk about it. Talk about this subject. Talk about ego. Talk about meditation. Talk about game. Talk about all this stuff and start noticing in other people when they're being egomaniacs. Now, here's the funny side effect of becoming aware of ego is that someone will be like talking to you in a certain way, and you'll be like, yo, you're kind of hitting me with your pain body right now, bro. You should check your ego awareness. Like that's egoic. Judging people for not being spiritually aligned, right? Isn't that funny? That's the end of the presentation for today. I hope you guys learned some stuff. I hope it helps you with the ladies and with happiness. And now if anybody wants to talk about it or anything else, now's the time. Otherwise, there's tomorrow's Q&A.
Yeah, I can add on to because there's this club I go to all the time. It's a recurring thing where I go there, and I just happen to approach a girl with a boyfriend like that night. It always seems to happen when I go to this one club. And the one guy couldn't even like tell me that like she was his girlfriend or like, hey, buddy, back off or whatever. Instead, what he did was he just went up to her and like grabbed her ass, like showing me like, yeah, this is mine. I'm like, okay. And then he like walked away from her. I continued having a conversation with her, and then he did it again, and I'm like, all right, dude.
Well, that's signaling to her that he's insecure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a tricky situation when a guy's hitting on your girl, like how to claim ownership over her without coming off as low value to her or the group, right? So usually like you trust your woman and you set a boundary for her behavior and like his behavior. And so I've noticed guys who are cool when I'm hitting on a girl, flirting with her and she's flirting back. I'll notice the guy, he'll kind of like, he'll usually watch from a distance and then eventually he's got to claim his territory, right?
Yeah.
So he'll come over and usually just introduce himself cool, like, oh, hey, bro, how you doing, right? And you're like, oh, hey, I'm Chris, I'm Tony. And then he'll just maybe like give his girl like a squeeze on the waist or something and say, hey, babe, I'll just be over here. And he leaves. Like that's all you need to do. Or some guys will joke and be like, yo, you trying to pick up my girlfriend? Like a lot of guys when they're jealous will say that though. And then, you look at her and you're like, is he really your boyfriend? And she'll be like, yes or no.
Yeah.
Like this, you can do it in a cool way. It's like slapping her on the ass a few times and getting like emotional about it. You're losing that girl. You're going to lose that girl. The guy who's more jealous loses. A guy with game, you're like, you almost want your girl to cheat. So then you're free to go get laid with new girls. And they know that. They're like, shit, Tony could go get another girl tonight. Like, especially if you're with her and you got high social value. If you're with your girlfriend, all the women want to fuck you, right? It's that
Mhm.
stupid, like, oh, he's with people, he's with a girl, he must be cool. Men, we don't think like that. We're just like, oh, she has nice lips. Okay, guys, I am going to bounce unless anyone else has something to add. Tomorrow's Q&A. I'll see some of you there. Bring questions, bring stories.
I'm doing night game tonight, so I'll share what happens tonight.
Sweet. Okay, bro. I'll see you all tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bye,
Adios.
guys.